Hey gang, I was actually going to do the video today, but I figured it's actually a nice night and I thought, why not, I just might as well go for a hike. So I'll probably do the video tomorrow. Well, on second thoughts, after just hearing what I just heard, maybe I should stay in and do the video after all. I mean, considering it is going to be a full moon and I don't want any howling whilst I do my trek. So stay tuned. Hey gang, thanks for dropping by Mauricio's Crib for another talk on an 80s movie. If this is your first time here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you've come back for more, as usual, I am grateful that you keep coming back and watching these things. Also, you can find me on Instagram and on TikTok for exclusive content. Now, when this movie was released in 1981, it changed the horror genre forever. This particular movie, it's one of my all-time favorites, and it's an American Werewolf in London. The screenplay was written in 1969 by John Landis when he was just 19 years old. He was working as a golfer in the film Kelly's Hero, which starred Clint Eastwood, Telly Savalas, Don Rickles, and countless others. The idea came to him after they were moving from one location to another location where they witnessed a burial held by gypsies where the corpse was actually buried standing up as opposed to laying down. One of the drivers asked why was that the case, and they advised that the man that they were burying committed horrendous crimes, and in order for him not to rise from the dead, they actually buried them standing upright. John Landis thought, well, what if he came back to life? So he started to play with the idea of a corpse coming back to life, but to do what? And hence the journey began to write an American Werewolf in London. John Landis was hoping to shoot Werewolf in London when he got back to the States after working on Kelly's Heroes in Yugoslavia, but instead he opted to write and direct a small budget film called Schlock. Now, the gorilla suit was created by special effects guru Rick Baker, who would work with John Landis 11 years later on Werewolf in London. Unfortunately, when Schlock was released, it was a financial disappointment. So it wasn't like Hollywood was knocking down John Landis' door and saying, hey, we want some more movies from you. It was only when he directed Kentucky Fried Movie that it made money, and then followed by the now classic Animal House, and of course the other classic, The Blues Brothers, that he was starting to make a name for himself and was able to get funding for Werewolf in London. The funding actually came from John Peters and Peter Guber, who ran Polygram Pictures. Those two names, if they sound familiar to you, it's because years later they will actually put up the money to make Tim Burton's fantastic Batman. John Landis and his producer George Folsey Jr. saw over 300 kids, guys, teenagers, whatever way you want to put it, for the role of David. It was only one night when John Landis was watching TV and the then famous Dr. Pepper commercial came on and saw David Norton sing and dance, and he thought, he seems like a likeable fellow, and he wanted him to play the role of David. Figured if he can sing and dance, this kid can do anything. Griffin Dunne, however, went through the normal casting process as far as through the agency and looking at photographs. John Landis called him up and he explained the story, pitched the idea, the whole concept, and he asked him if this is something that he'd be interested in doing. Griffin Dunne said yes, and he said, I've got one question for you, and he asked if he was claustrophobic, and Griffin Dunne said no. They said, great, you're hired. So there was no audition, there was no table reading, there was no testing, it was just based like that. I wish I could be that lucky. Someone gives me a call and just says, hey, I've seen your videos, would you be interested in doing a movie? I'll be like, hell yeah. And that was a bit of a mouthful, wasn't it? And I didn't actually up. I can never say this actress's surname properly, so if you guys are fans that are watching this, please don't shoot me down because I don't know, but I'll give it a go. So the role of Nurse Alex Price was offered to Jenny Agorta, or it's Agata or Gorta, I have no idea, but it was offered to Jenny Agorta, who was very good friends with John Landis' wife. The part was only offered to her once John Landis had the money to make the film. Jenny was not a fan of horror but she liked the script and she thought that if anyone can pull this off, it would be John Landis himself. So she agreed to do it. John Landis on purpose wanted to shoot the film in winter, so filming began in February 1981 in Wales. See this particular scene? As you can see, Jack, he's got boogers coming out of his nose. That's actually real, and they were waiting for someone to yell cut, but they just kept going. I think it adds some sort of authenticity to the actual film because you wouldn't expect it, and he was actually laughing himself, so I'm glad they left it in. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how cold it actually was. Now, in movies, when there's a scene that requires rain, generally they use pipes and let the sprinklers flow. So for this scene, that's exactly what they did. However, it was that cold that the pipes froze. So the water actually turned into ice. So what they had to do is wrap the pipes with hot towels and also electric blankets to have the water to start flowing. Another example to show you just how cold it was, see this actor that plays the corpse after the werewolf got shot, because obviously metamorphosis back to human. Look at the steam rising off his body. That's how cold it was. I just wonder if it was as cold as the time when we were in New York. After experiencing that, I can handle the cold anytime. When I first watched the film, there were two things that I found scary and a bit disturbing. The dream sequences, they were scary and disturbing, but it was actually the howling of the werewolf. Never in my life have I ever heard anything like that in the films that I was watching, even up until this day. I don't think anyone's been able to top that. And if you guys purchased an American Werewolf in London through Arrow, because they've remastered it to 2K master, and they've actually remastered the soundtrack to 5.1, and see this scene where the werewolf is actually circling them, if you sit in the center, if you have surround speakers, as the werewolf centers them and the growling, it actually comes from behind you. So it's actually quite surreal and freaky. It's a good idea for a date movie. So if you have a girl that you're interested in, you might chuck this on and have her sit next to you, and when she hears the growling from the back, she might just move in a little bit closer, and you can actually, put your arm around her and protect her, and could be the start of something. I'm going to just talk a little bit about the dream sequences. So the dream sequences, for some people, when we've talked about the movie, it doesn't make sense to them. They're always asking, but I don't get that. Why is he in the middle of the forest and he turns into this ghoul? And why is his family actually gunned down by these Nazi demons? So the reason being, it's actually just showing the change of the character of David. It's showing that there's no place for him to be safe, even if it was with his family. His family is getting actually killed by Nazi demons. So in other words, this guy's See this scene where he's actually in the bed? The makeup, it took 6 hours to do. And how long is that close up on screen for? A couple of seconds. That's the movies for you. That's why I guess they pay big money. So yeah, agents, if you're still watching this and you're interested, I won't ask for that much, but I'm sure we can organize something. Hey guys, I just want to put a warning out there. I'm going to be talking about Jack's makeup after he rises from the dead and visits David in the hospital. Even as an adult watching this film and seeing this, it's still actually disgusting, and I know that I have a couple of young followers, so this message is for you guys. If you watch the first few seconds and find it gruesome, skip ahead. Don't turn it off, just skip ahead. Because I don't want you guys to have nightmares and then you wake up, your parents go in the room, what happened? I was watching Mauricio's crib, American Werewolf in London, and then I'll probably get on the phone or write in the comments, you should have said something, So there you have it, okay? So that's how I didn't warn you, because it is pretty disgusting. Okay, now that I've got that out of the way, one of the most gruesome, ferociously disgusting makeup effects ever caught on film. This is my opinion, by the way, because I haven't seen anything top this. Not even the later films such as Saw or Hostel, is the actual makeup effect of Jack when he visits David in the hospital. I mean, have a look at this. At the same time, it's disgusting, but you can't look away. It's just sheer brilliance. I mean, this is Rick Baker's work. And see that little flesh there that's actually wiggling? That wasn't done with intention. They actually saw it afterwards when they played the playbacks, and it actually added an effect. And here's an interesting fact, John Landis actually filmed the toast going down Jack's throat, but it was found to be too disturbing, so he edited it out. Hey, it's been brought to my attention that Griffin Dune is not pronounced Dune, it's actually Griffin Dunn. So from now on, I'll be saying Griffin Dunn. I'm not going to go back and redo it. Okay, so, but he actually became depressed whilst they were applying the makeup, that he wasn't getting much screen time because half his face was covered with gore. So it was actually John Landis that had a chat to him to raise his spirits up and see the positive side of the actual filming process and the makeup effects. So yeah, the main highlight of An American Werewolf in London is the transformation of David into a wolf. Now you got to think back that this was 1981. Nowadays you can use CGI and it's done, you know, pretty quickly. So back then it was all about makeup, people working behind the scenes, puppets, everything else. But this makeup effect actually changed the way horror movies were made from then on as far as the special effects. I mean, have a look at some of behind the scenes of this and what went into it. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. So yeah, I'm just going to leave this with you. I'm hoping that I don't get in trouble because I actually want to show the transformation if you've never seen the film, and if you haven't, I suggest you do watch it because overall the movie has a very good storyline and you actually care about the characters. But I just want to leave this particular scene, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due because I don't want to get in trouble, but we'll see how we go and how long it lasts.
You saw me standing alone.
Jesus Christ!
Without a dream.
What? God! Fire!
Without a
Oh,
love.
I'm burning up! Oh! 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 God!
Let me sing a prayer for someone I really care for. Then suddenly there appeared for me the only one when I heard somebody whisper me. And when I looked, the moon had turned to gold.
Help me! Please! Help me! I didn't mean to call you meatloaf, Jack!
Oh man, one of the scariest scenes in the film is when the werewolf goes after this English businessman. You can only imagine what he's going through. There's no one there to help him, and he's running for his life. Here's an interesting fact. Towards the end, when he's actually tired, John Landis directed him to actually hit the escalators with a thump. And if you watch the film, you actually feel it. He must have really hurt himself. And once they got cut, everyone ran to him to see if he was okay. Thankfully he was. Now that's talking about getting into character, huh? An American Werewolf in London was released on August 21, 1981, and it was a box office success. It grossed $62 million against a $10 million budget. Some critics were divided though, some liked it and some didn't. Personally for me, An American Werewolf in London is an absolute classic. It's one of my favorite films of all time. It has a very good storyline and it has characters that you actually care about. So there you have it, gang, another talk on an 80s movie. Thank you so much for dropping by Mauricio's crib. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, please do. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and on TikTok for exclusive content. Until the next visit, you be you and keep on living. And beware the moon.